So, I feel like this topic that I am going to talk about today is a really, really, really important one, okay? Because I know for myself and for many of my clients and for a lot of my audience, we are empaths, right? Myself, and again, much of my audience, many of my clients, we are people pleasers. And coaching is an awesome industry, right? It's an industry where we get to have so much impact. We truly get to change people's lives. But I find that many coaches, even though like we help other people through this type of stuff, really, really struggle with stress in our business, anxiety, again, all of that people pleasing stuff. So if you are a coach that struggles with a lot of stress, anxiety, people pleasing, this is for you. Okay. And what I'm going to talk to you about today is just the heaviness of coaching. And I think it is so incredibly important to talk about it. And not only to talk about it, but to normalize it as well. Because so much of the emotion of business is stuff that will make you feel like you're the only one experiencing it. It'll make it feel like it's just you going through all of this. And that's not true at all. Right. So, when it comes to coaches, this is what I know to be true for most of the people that I talk to, right? You love what you do, love it. You know, you were born to do this, and you're incredibly passionate about helping your clients. And not only that, but you're incredibly impact driven. Like, not only you want to help them, but you truly, truly care and you want to change their lives. And you're also success driven. And that might take a little bit more work, right? We typically, as coaches, are impact driven first and then success driven second. But I know you want success for yourself and whatever that means to you, whether that's as much money as you want or having a lot of time or being able to work from anywhere. I know that's why we get into business in addition to the impact, right? And we get in and we get going, and it can feel amazing. And it can also feel really terrible, this whole business of coaching, right? Because we get emotionally bogged down. We, as coaches and as empaths, most of my audience, I would suspect, we absorb other people's problems and emotions. And guess what? You are a coach. People come to you with their problems. That is why people hire coaches. If someone has a problem and they can't solve it on their own, they hire coaches. They get help, right? And so it's not surprising that so many of the coaches that I work with and myself as well, that we've gotten oftentimes, especially before having a lot of consciousness around this, really emotionally bogged down in our businesses because you've got people coming to you all the time saying, help me, I'm failing, I'm struggling, I don't know what to do, nothing's working, right? And of course, as coaches, we love the celebrations. And my clients are really, I kind of train them to be good at celebrating and to recognize the wins, the big ones, the small ones, and everything in between. And we love those. I could read those all day. So, so, so happy, right? I love the celebrations. But the truth is, in most of your time as a coach, people are going to be bringing their challenges to you, right? They're going to be not losing the weight or not making the money or not finding that relationship they dream of or whatever coaching you do, right? They are struggling with the thing that you're trying to help them with. And if they're not working with you yet, that's one thing. But if this is a paying client and they're struggling, so often what I find for my clients and for myself before I was aware of it is that we make their struggles about us, right? Rather than it just being allowed, right? And rather that being part of their process, we make their struggles about us and we attach meaning to it. We attach assumptions like we're failing our clients if they are struggling, or that our program doesn't work, or that it's failing our clients if they're struggling. And number one, usually that's not even close to what the client is thinking. If you have a client who takes 100% personal responsibility for themselves, then of course they're not going to be looking at you and saying, hey, why am I struggling? They're going to know, right? Or they're going to have some ideas about it. And regardless, like if you've proven your product works and your coaching program works and you've gotten client results before, you know that your program delivers results despite whether or not any given client gets results. So don't allow, I've seen this so many times, like one client complaining or one person really struggling, don't make that mean anything about your program. If you've got one person struggling and a whole bunch of other people have gotten results, it doesn't necessarily mean anything about your program. Okay. And here's the thing is you are a coach. You get to help them through that. And also, not only should you not attach meaning to your client struggles, but you shouldn't want them not to struggle. I think some of the best lessons I've had in my entire life, both in business and in life in general, have come from struggle. And the same thing goes for my coaching clients, right? Maybe they rushed through a launch or something that they were executing, or they didn't follow all the steps. Well, guess what? It doesn't work. They're going to be like, oh, I didn't do all of these things you said to do. Let me try again, right? Or let me make sure I really pay attention to all of the details next time. And that's okay. Your client's struggles have nothing to do with you, but you are their coach and you can help them through them. Just don't make it mean anything about you. All right. That's really, really, really important. I want you to hear that. And in addition to this, in addition to kind of like the heavy weight of coaching and absorbing other people's problems and emotions, there's a lot of emotion around business in general, right? It can feel like a little bit of a roller coaster. I always show my clients on the very first day of working with me this meme, and you can Google it. It's like a day in the life of an entrepreneur. And it is all these highs and lows within the course of one day, right? I know in the same hour, I've had the lowest of lows and the highest of highs. And that's kind of normal as a business owner. I've had a lot of people tell me, because I really like to, again, normalize emotion in business. I think it's super important. But I've had a lot of people tell me that they thought it was just them before I call it out, right? And it's not. Business is an emotional roller coaster. And I don't want to say that it ever gets easier. It's just that you get better at managing it, and you get better at seeing things for what they are versus giving them all this meaning and reading so much into stuff that it doesn't need to have, So the emotion of business is really powerful. And I think that not only do we take on the emotion of our clients, but we take on the emotion of success and the pressure we put on ourselves, because we deeply desire freedom as coaches, right? Especially as online coaches, but often we don't anticipate the emotion of all of it. And it's really normal. I actually had someone tell me a couple months ago that they thought that they needed to go get like a bipolar diagnosis their first year in business, right? And they were serious about that. And that shows me that not enough people are having this type of conversation, because that up and down roller coaster of emotions is very normal. Just hear me on that. And you can absolutely learn to manage it. But I'm here to tell you guys now, having gone from having like nothing, no money, being broke, building a 6-figure fitness business, selling that business, going through a lot of struggles in my career before starting Authentic Conversion. The first 6 months of starting Authentic Conversion, I wasn't really making any money either. And I can tell you guys now, having a multi-million-dollar business, the struggle of the emotion of your business never really goes away. You just get better at managing it, and you get better at seeing things for what they are and seeing the truth of them versus like making everything such a big deal, right? And I've been really, really open with my clients and with my audience about my anxiety in business. And this really started when I opened my brick and mortar studio. Actually, I would say it started more when I was a fitness manager for an Equinox in New York City when I lived there. That's where I kind of got my start in personal training. And then they promoted me to manage the personal training department. And I think that's kind of where the anxiety started. And I was doing like in-home sessions and stuff like that as well, because of course that's where the real money was. And just having that level of responsibility for other people, and or feeling like I did anyway, definitely brought out anxiety that I'd never had before in my life. And I'll say it definitely went to the next level when I opened my boot camp, right? And it took me years to figure this out, but the source of my own anxiety was my deep desire to please people, right? And to desperately want all of my clients to get results. I desperately wanted that. And I was making it mean if someone didn't get results, that it was my program or my problem or my failure. And that's never what it means, right? Because you can't control other people. That's a silly thing to think, but it feels really true, especially when you're that kind of like natural born people pleaser, right? And so it not only comes from me desperately wanting everyone to be happy all the time and wanting all of my clients to get 100% results, but it comes from the burden of people coming to you with their problems, right? And my mistake was for such a long time internalizing it and making it mean something about me versus, hey, this person's struggling. They've struggled for a long time. They need my help. Let me help them, right? I was just making it mean something about me. And it's so funny to kind of like think and say, but no one thinks about us nearly as much as we do. And that might not feel true as a business owner, but I promise your clients are thinking about you like a tiny fraction of every day, and probably not even every day. It's just like when they see you or see your post on social media or something, right? And the thing is that your clients are meant to struggle. They are meant to fail because that is how they grow. I actually just had this. This is so funny too. And I'll share this with you guys because I'm very open and transparent. So, I had gained about 10 pounds or so, like through COVID, I think, like a lot of people, but I had never really experienced that type of struggle before. And so I hired a nutrition coach a couple months ago, and I'm like 100% back on track. I feel great. And I'm still having these like new learning experiences, learning how to manage myself. And I never really had to worry about it before, honestly. And I really believe that a lot of what shifted for me in the last year came from age, and it like all happened very fast, and what used to work doesn't. And yeah, there's the fun story that my clients used to tell me that I never thought I would be saying about myself, but it happened, and it's fine. And I'm still going through these learning experiences, right? So I went to this business networking event the other night, not really to network on my business, but just to kind of like meet other professional women here locally in Asheville, North Carolina, where I live. And I noticed this was like a great lesson for me. And I don't think it was a failure, but it was just like, okay, pay attention to those situations. So, what I noticed about myself was that when everyone else was doing something, right, because they had like all this food there and there was like lots of cheese and stuff like that, which I love. And I noticed that everyone else was eating it. So, it felt like I didn't even think about it, right? If that stuff was in my refrigerator, I wouldn't go out and just like eat a bunch of that anymore. I used to be able to do that and nothing happened. It doesn't work that way anymore, right? And so I left that event and I was like, what was that? Like, what did you just do? And I didn't beat myself up over it, but I was like, okay, here's a lesson that I can take from this. When you are in these types of social events, you just need to pay attention to yourself more, right? You don't need to want to fit in or like, you don't need to do what other people are doing. What you want to do is okay. And I was just like, okay, that's great, right? So I have no issue with those types of like failures, and everything ultimately ends up becoming a lesson, right? And that's just the truth. So there's a fun little personal life example that I can give you, and it's really the same thing in business also, right? Like if you have a client who has an autoimmune condition that they're not getting results, or like if I have a client in my business who has a unique circumstance, or maybe they just like they want to have an online coaching business, but they just started a social media profile, right? And those types of things allow us to really get creative and level up and just become better coaches, right? So I used to think many years ago that being a coach was about having all the answers, and that is absolutely not true. Okay. And truthfully, your number one job is problem solving and helping people stick to things that are really challenging, right? Because the truth is that change is really hard stuff, and your people are going to fall off the wagon, and it's going to mean nothing about you. And I don't want you to end up hating coaching because everyone's coming to you with their problems and they're supposed to, right? You're like, why is everyone dumping their problems on me? It's like, well, you're the coach. They're supposed to. That's normal, but you cannot absorb it all. You truly have to create a barrier between yourself and the emotion of your clients, their pains, their frustrations, and even their results. Because let me blow your mind. You are not responsible for your client results. Hear that again. You are not responsible for your client results. And it doesn't just mean you charge people and don't give them anything. That's not what I'm saying at all, right? Your job is to show up, to provide the structure that they need to get results, to deliver the support, and to give them everything that you promised. And if you are confident that your program produces results in people, you have to detach from any individual client getting results, because your job is to be the guide, the teacher, the support system. But your job is not to carry their burdens, to do the work for them. And it's not to bear the burden of their results either. And the reason is because you cannot control other people, right? You cannot be with someone else 24/7. And if you know your plan works, if they execute 100% of it, you cannot be tied up in their results because you can't want change more than your client does. So you've really got to learn to create that barrier and get clear on where their responsibility lies and where your responsibility lies. And the work that you're doing as a coach is such incredibly important work to do in the world. And too many coaches quit because of the heaviness of this responsibility that we take on. And I don't think it helps that we as coaches compare ourselves to other people and assume they're on and they're working all the time and they're hustling and they're doing more. And it just creates all this guilt for us, right? So we can find ways from our clients internally through comparison to really just layer on that heavy burden, right? And that's not necessary, but I get it because I've been there too. I am a 24/7 problem solver. My clients are reaching out to me 7 days a week, and I want to be there for them, but I also have to create that barrier for myself, right? So this is super cliche, right? But take care of you first. You've got to practice what you would preach to your clients. If you're not taking care of yourself and turning off the problem solving portion of your brain when you need to turn it off, you can't be available 24/7 and really truly help people. Take care of you. Make sure you're not in problem solving mode all the time. I noticed for me that the fastest path to burnout was being available 7 days a week to help people solve their problems. It is incredibly exhausting. It is emotionally exhausting, and you shouldn't be putting that burden on yourself. Okay. And what I need to tell you also is that you are not a bad coach because your clients have problems. Your clients, I'm assuming, are humans. Therefore, they are going to have problems and they're going to have struggles. And every now and then, someone who doesn't take personal responsibility for themselves might try to blame you for their struggle. Guess what? I've been on the receiving end of that as well. And I know the truth, right? I know the truth of my heart, of who I am, of how I serve. I know the truth of my program and the type of results that it gets for people. And if you are, for whatever reason, this happens with my clients all the time as well, where they're kind of asking questions because they've got someone who is not wanting to take personal responsibility. Again, don't make that mean anything about you. See the truth of what it is. If you've been showing up and delivering 100% of what you promised, see the truth of what it is. All right. It has nothing to do with you. Because when that person is ready to take full responsibility for themselves and their results, then they'll create the results. Anyone placing blame on anything outside of themselves, whether it's a coach or a program or external circumstances of any kind, is not really ready to get results. They don't have the mindset of 100% personal responsibility. And that is so critical, right? And if you're navigating those highs and lows for yourself and really all of the emotion of business, I just want you to know it is so normal. And this is the job you signed up for when you decided to get into coaching, really for better or for worse. And I want to leave you with this. And this is that if you consistently take on other people's struggles, you will then eventually crumble underneath those struggles. So you've got to start to understand how you can separate for yourself your emotional health, your business, your client, their results, and know what you are responsible for, know what you aren't, and know that the burden of coaching can be very heavy, right? For many of us who really genuinely care about our clients and their results and their transformation. But someone else's results are not your responsibility. Your responsibility is to give someone everything you promised they were going to get, and maybe even more, and give them everything they need to be successful. And it is their responsibility to do what they will with it to get the result that they want. I hope this is helpful. And if you want to tell me, that would be awesome. So I would love for you to jump on over to my free Facebook group. It's called Authentic Conversion, Organic Six-Figure Fitness Business, where I do coaching, teaching, training, you name it, every single week to help online coaches all over the world build and grow their businesses. And I would absolutely love to have you in there.